Golly gosh, isn't it a beautiful world we live in? Gotta say that when you're sitting on the freeway in traffic, it doesn't really look all that beautiful, but then again, it all comes down to your perspective, right? Everything we do comes down to our perspective, how we view the world. No matter how tedious shit gets, there's always a way to look at it with a positive mindset. Sometimes I choose not to. Perhaps on purpose. Maybe I just get to the point where I just don't want to fool myself anymore. But most of the time I can make the best of even the worst situations. I think seeing that silver lining is something that a lot of people are really missing. And it leads to a very dark place where people become the victims. Not because they're actually victimized, but because they've created a victimhood out of their situation, thinking that they've been cheated or their life has been unfair. I was thinking that old saying, life ain't fair. Depends on what you mean by fair. Many of us are given ample opportunity to do things for ourselves, and we choose to do something else. Many people have ample funds to survive, but they choose to buy a lease on a fancy car instead that they can't really afford, or, fall into a drug habit, and even use that as a somewhat of a victim status, the way we coddle drug addicts. And don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of friends who were addicts. I've had 2 loved ones die from addiction, but it's something that is a little frustrating for those of us who are well aware that consuming substances can take away the pain, but we've chosen not to consume certain substances because we want to play the game fair and right, and we don't want to fall into a situation where we've screwed ourselves over. So we play the hard game. We play the struggle. Everybody struggles, but not everyone is equipped to make the right decisions in life. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people who have made mistakes shouldn't complain about their situation. In fact, complaining about our situation is the only thing that gets us motivated to get up and actually change our situation. Sometimes. It's the same way that stress is required for us to get things done. And sometimes depression even is required for us to realize that we're sad, that we need to grieve, we need to process. Our souls, complicated things. We are very sensitive creatures. We often talk about specific people who we say, oh, so-and-so is sensitive, or so-and-so is an empath. There are some people who are more empathetic than others, for sure. But what I've discovered is that everybody shares a degree of empathy. Many are just better at obscuring it. Many people, even people who you wouldn't expect to feel sad, myself, losing my mom last year was very hard, but I managed to laugh on the day I lost her. I managed to laugh since then. I don't sit there and stew and cry and complain about it, but deep inside I do. So I do keep it kind of hidden, but it might seem a little jagged to somebody who doesn't know me. Nobody can get inside somebody else's head and know what they're truly thinking and how they really feel. So it's easy for us to put labels on people as just being thoughtless or mean, unkind, or, happy or a nice guy. It can go either way. But I think we all agree that we have a little bit of everything in us. We all have the potential to lash out when we need to, or we should anyway. We all have the potential to cry, to get angry, to smile, to frown. Sometimes we just get pushed down in our lives. Shit happens. you've got to deal with it without being a victim, without complaining. I feel like people complain about everything these days, and it's not even their situation. People are so fucking bored, they complain about other people's opinions. They complain about what other people think or how they act, even if it doesn't affect them at all whatsoever. People are always looking for an enemy. They're always looking for somebody to point the finger at. Not everyone. I've definitely worked past that. And anytime I find myself pointing the finger at somebody, whether it's a group or an individual, I point the finger right back at myself and say, what is it in this group that you don't like about yourself? Because most often we can find something, whether it be frustration, sometimes it's the bad behavior of the individual and it's warranted. Sometimes it's jealousy, perhaps, or envy. Maybe we wish we could have that or be like that. It's kind of the way that people, hate the wealthy or good-looking people just because they wish they had that. That's not always the case. Sometimes they hate the rich because they act like dicks. Sometimes they hate good-looking people because they're narcissistic, but not everyone is. We tend to like to put a blanket over everything and say this is how these people are and this is how these people are. Whether it's separated by gender, color, race, ethnicity, political opinion, it's all pretty absurd. It really is. We just do our best, man. We just do our best. Try to find our way through this place without getting too caught up in the bullshit. But to remember that we're not just here to live simple lives where everything's handed to us on a platter. That would be too easy. We're not looking for a utopia where everyone gets along and everything's just fine. That's not reality. We need the struggle to survive. So when we play the victim, we're not paying proper homage to the struggle. And that's the way I see it. Shit happens to all of us. God, if I complained about everything that happened to me, I'd never stop. But you know what? When I get home from work here, my family's going to be there. And I love my family. My dog's going to greet me. And just knowing that I have that... Oh, tunnel. Gotta do it every time. I usually start a trend in the other tunnel. When I get home, I have people that love me, and I have something to look forward to, in my life. And I think as long as we have that, it's easier for us not to get caught up in feeling like a victim, feeling like we're screwed, because often it's not our situation that we're mad at. It's the situation we've created for ourselves, not for the things that we do or have, but for the things that we don't have or the things that we don't do. We feel like victims if we haven't accomplished our goals in life, even if we had perfect opportunity to do so. Sometimes it's better to look at it as, here we are, we're starting fresh from day one. What can we do to improve our life, make ourselves happier and those around us? Because ultimately, as a community, we all need to share these, sharing these things, these discoveries that we make, and these ups and downs that we have, and find people that give a damn and are willing to listen to us and care about our opinions and our values. Because that's all we have is each other. So thank you for listening. Appreciate your time. I don't appreciate traffic, but hey, I'm in it. Peace out.